Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next session, which is all about social commerce. So I have a bit to cover in this session, and it kind of dovetails nicely from the last session. So we covered social media best practices, and today I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of social commerce. So with this, I'm going to go through a few different items. So we're going to start off with talking about your content pillars. Then we're going to talk a bit about the Facebook pixel. I'm going to then move into shoppable websites, having an inventory page, product catalog, and lifestyle imagery. So I have a bit to cover, but if anybody does have any questions while I am going through the session, if anybody wants to put them into the chat box, obviously feel free to do so. I'll also leave some time at the very end for Q&A. So if there's anything that comes to mind, please feel free to type it into the chat box and I will cover it as I go along. And I will also answer any questions that you might have at the end. So if you can keep yourself muted, that would be fantastic. And any questions, pop them into the chat box and I will keep an eye on it as well. So let's get started on your social commerce toolkit. So there we go. So your content pillars. So these are essentially all of the items that make up the content that you create. These will inspire you to create content. So if you're thinking, I know I need to create content, but I'm not quite sure exactly what I should be talking about, these are a good way for you to make that checklist. And they're also good to come back to if you're struggling with content ideas. So the first thing here is your USP, your unique selling point. So with anything, when it comes to retail, when it comes to commerce, when it comes to most things nowadays, it's hard to find a very, very unique product to sell or a unique service to provide. But what actually makes you stand out is you, is your personality, is who you are. And maybe there is that slight edge that you have over the competition, and feel free to celebrate that and feel free to talk about that as well. Your expertise is also a content pillar. So you will have an expertise on something, whether it's products that you provide, maybe it's a service, maybe it's an add-on, maybe it's different tips and tricks. All of that is your expertise. And again, that's what sets you apart. Your staff, your team, you as a person, that can't be mimicked. Your products and your offering, your experience. So this again falls under expertise. So it can sometimes get a bit distracting when you look at competitors and you're kind of trying to compare yourself to them. But really what makes you authentic is your experience, your expertise, your personality. And then you might want to talk about your community and your customers. So if you localize your content, that can help as well, especially when it comes to relatability. So maybe you want to even share things like customer reviews. Maybe you have customer of the month, anything around your community that's worth celebrating. All of that is so important, because if you look at the image on the right-hand side, 80% of your content should be focused on informing or entertaining people or educating them. And then 20% of that, you can do the hard sell. But you need to strike that balance, because if you find that 100% of your content is sell, 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 that your engagement drops, your interactions drop. But if you start to focus on relatable content, that content around your community, your customers, your staff, and then every so often you're talking about the hard sell, people are more forgiving and they expect that content throughout, but it will get that more engagement because you've kind of worked on the rest. So what you need to focus on as well in terms of goals and in terms of your content is you want to start off by attracting and inspiring people. So you need to bring your customer in. You need to attract them to you, to your products, to your store. Then when you have them, you need to engage and retain. So even if you think about videos that you might be watching, the start of the videos will attract you, they might inspire you. And then you need something there to keep your attention. So that retention is important. And then when you have them, when they're starting to engage with you, when you have their attention, that's when you can encourage action. So that's when you can say, Here's a link to the product. I have the product tagged in my Instagram. Here's where you can find our store. So that kind of action that you are encouraging is expected after the initial attraction, inspiration, and engagement stage. And then following that, you can generate that loyalty. So it is about consistently filling that funnel from the top, trying to attract and inspire, bringing new customers and clients in, then engaging with them, and then encouraging that action and keeping that relationship going to generate that loyalty. So to start off, and there is some technical parts of this too, but we will be sharing this deck afterwards. So you can kind of follow along if you are starting to create things like a pixel, if you're looking at the catalog, if you're looking at shops, that you have this as a reference point. But essentially the pixel, so the pixel is owned by Meta, who own Facebook and Instagram. And what it does is it actually plugs into your website. So if you have Shopify, maybe you have Magento, whatever e-commerce platform that you are using, it plugs into that. And it actually starts to track activity that customers are doing on your site. And that then allows you to do things like advertising and saying to Facebook and Instagram ads, I want you to find me customers and I want to be able to track everything that they do from my ads. So again, it justifies things like ad spend, because I know when you're doing things like investing in advertising, especially with digital, you really want to see results and you want to make sure you're getting a return on your ad spend. So having something like a pixel set up will actually show you more data on what customers do after they click on your ad on Instagram or on Facebook. So it's worth setting this up. And especially if you do have a Shopify, if you have an e-commerce integration that works quite well, then that can work really well for you when you're setting up ads. And also it just gives you such good data back to see where your investment is going. So if you're not sure if you have a pixel or not, there is an extension there called Facebook Pixel Helper. So if you have Google Chrome, you can type that into the search bar, it will download it and it will tell you whether or not it's on your website or not. So it's a really good tool to have. So now when you have your pixel there, you can now track activity and optimize for sales. So if you've been doing things like pressing the boost button on Facebook and on Instagram, what that tends to do is it will boost it for things like engagements. So if somebody likes your post, if somebody comments on your post, if somebody even taps on your post, that's deemed as an engagement and you get charged every single time somebody does that. So you could be spending $1, $2, $3, $5 on someone even accidentally pressing a like button. So with these types of ads for e-commerce, you are now going to be paying if somebody purchases from you, if somebody goes to your website and acts in a certain way that you want them to, you pay for that action as opposed to somebody liking. So it's worth investing in the proper ways of doing your e-commerce advertising. So in addition to the pixel, you can also create what's called a product catalog. So again, if you have an integration, if you have e-commerce, it's worth setting this up so that you can now showcase your products on Facebook and on Instagram with no additional charge. You don't have to advertise this, but what it allows you to do is if you take a picture of your product, you can then tag that item like you would tag an individual in a photo. And it allows people to tap on that, to explore the product, to potentially buy that product then through the platform. So it's worth setting this up initially and allowing that additional shop for yourself to attract new customers and to allow people to explore your products without you needing to prompt them. So you might find that if you post a picture and you don't necessarily say the name of the product and you don't necessarily say how much it is and things like that, sometimes it's good to do that because you get people asking you questions about it, but also you might lose out on getting that sale because people might not want to show that they're commenting, they might not reach out, they want that instant information. So if you go to the business manager in Facebook and you click on Commerce Manager, you can set all of this up. And if you do have an e-commerce integration, it is honestly quite seamless. And it is very much a step-by-step approach. And it shows you all of the steps you need to take. So if you are sometimes when I'm working on websites, you do have that fear every now and then where you think, if I press this button, I'm going to destroy this website. That's it. It's going to be removed from the internet and it's all my fault. It doesn't happen. Don't worry. So even if you're really unsure and if you're a little bit uncertain about how it all works, it's really seamless and it's not going to destroy your website. In fact, it's going to help it. So with Facebook shops and with Instagram shops, when you set this up, it's just that additional platform that your page now provides. So again, it's that shoppable, really nicely laid out section of your social media platform that just continuously works for you. And you can tag products, you can showcase them in your ads, and it just looks so seamless and it's very attractive as a customer, especially like Instagram, where it has that shopping tab. So if you are getting set up, if you go into your settings and you go into business, you can set up Instagram shopping. And again, it takes you through the step-by-step process of setting up your shop. And it just allows people, especially around gifting time of year, to explore your shop without leaving the platform. Because there is a lot of statistics that show that people tend not to leave platforms unless it's for a really good deal or unless it's something that really stands out to them. So if you allow them to shop within your platforms, then again, it's just increasing that opportunity for sales because you're not forcing them to necessarily go to your website or go externally. You're now allowing them to shop, to buy from within the platforms. And then when you're tagging your products, so you'll see here, shop the product. TikTok allows you to do this as well, but also on your stories. So if you do have that clickable link, that tagged product, it just increases that opportunity that if somebody really liked that picture or really liked that product that's shown in that picture or that video, that they don't have to then message you and say, what's the name of that? Can you send me a link for that? And if it automatically makes them go, I need this, and then there's an opportunity for them to click on a link and get it almost instantly, it just increases your chances of getting that sale, because any barriers that you put in the way of them buying or even reaching out to ask you questions, those types of barriers make people rethink their decisions, and you want that impulse to carry all the way through to the sale. So when you're on Instagram, you have that option to tag products in addition to tagging people. So when you have your catalog set up, it gives you that opportunity. And then you'll see when you create a Facebook post that this new option here that says tag products also appears. So there's two new options to you now that you have your product catalog set up. And it's so attractive then for other people to tap on that and to see the name of the product to potentially save it then for later. So in your commerce platform, so where you set up your product catalog, you can also edit what your shop looks like for other people. So maybe what you want to do is think about the imagery that you're using, because your catalog will pull from your website. So you can customize it to a certain degree, and you can maybe have that nice cover picture where it showcases your products, maybe it showcases your store. It just makes it look quite nice. So try to think about it similar to your website banner. So the top picture that people see when they land on your website, you always want to make it look really inviting, really branded, and just really nice for people to see your products and maybe entice them then to keep scrolling, to look more at your products, especially if you feature multiple products in that first picture. It just attracts them. So that's the thing, you want to attract and inspire from the start. So making sure that you're ready for that. So even with lifestyle imagery, I know that not every single picture has to have high production quality. And I know in terms of budgeting and even in terms of resources, it can be really difficult to have every single picture exactly as you would like it to be and perfect and produced really nicely. So don't put yourself under too much pressure to have it that way. But you can kind of trick the system in terms of having maybe colored cards underneath your products to blur the background and to just have a certain focus on your camera pointing at the product, with everything else around it in a blur, or maybe you're changing the background. And all of that can be done with your mobile. You don't need to worry too much about having a camera. You can use your cell for that. So lifestyle imagery obviously can work quite well. And doing things like in situation photos. So if you don't have a photographer and maybe your setup in your store, it could be quite busy. You might have a lot of products in the one spot and it might be kind of difficult to find a background that would work. Sometimes it's good to just bring it out into nature. If it's snowing on the ground, put your products on top of it, whatever it is, anything can be a canvas. Even showing how you package products. So again, if you offer that e-commerce service, if you are that kind of smaller store that you want to show, I'm physically packing these and this, you're supporting our business by buying from us. And this is exactly how we package it. Sometimes it's nice to see the people behind the brand and to see them packaging as well. So you're kind of automatically, you're saying, well, I know where my money's going and I know I'm supporting this lovely business. So again, you don't need a professional camera to do any of that. And you'll see some examples here. And we've left some of the names of the businesses there on Instagram if you did want to check out some of those. And again, if you have things in your store that you want to do things like celebrating locals, celebrating customers, celebrating makers. So if you have crafts in your store that somebody local has put together, artists, celebrating all of that and bringing it in and bringing that local aspect in is really good, especially for content and just to add to the personality of your store as well. So when you have your product catalog set up, you can also tag your products in videos, tag them in reels. So when you bring your products to life, whether it's a packaging video, whether it's actually explaining how something works, how a product is used, all of that, again, is attracting and retaining your customers and then encouraging that action by tagging the products there, having a link and telling them where they can buy these products. That's that kind of call to action at the end that you can now do because you've attracted the customers in and you've engaged with them. And then you can say, buy here, shop now, and all of those lovely call to actions. And then in terms of your video content, you can use your surroundings. So even with Marshalls, where they have check off your guest list with us and they're just walking around with their cart and they're putting items in, showcasing kind of gift ideas. You can look up small businesses on even TikTok for some content ideas, because sometimes it's the simple ideas that work really, really well. So you don't have to overthink your content too much. Another tip is Canva. So if you haven't heard of Canva, it's almost a quick design app. I wouldn't necessarily use it for everything, but it's quite good if you're doing things like product photography, using your cell, and you want to maybe change out the background. There's a lovely thing called background remover, and there's nice templates in there. So if you don't feel too comfortable with what you're taking, if you feel like maybe it's a bit, it could look better, maybe look at Canva and get some ideas. It is a free app. You do have to pay you can pay for a pro account, but you can use the app on your phone. You can use it on your computer. You can use a lot of the free services that it has without even having to pay. So if you wanted to maybe check that out to upgrade your content a little bit, I would definitely recommend that. And then if you are using your phone to do a lot of your content creation, you can use things like PixArt for product photography, Clip Drop. So it will take a picture of your product and automatically remove the background. So you can then put that onto something else, onto maybe a different background. And then there's also Lightroom for editing your pictures as well. So if you wanted to maybe change up the quality, filter it a little bit. So those are kind of apps that we would suggest that are quite good for just elevating your photography another little bit. But do use your insights. So if you are thinking about what you can maybe do to bring your content to the next level, or maybe look at how did people interact with my previous posts and then learn from that and do more of the same of what is working for you. When you go into your content interactions in your insights on Instagram, for example, you can actually filter your results by post type. So if you go to shopping posts, you'll be able to then see what people clicked on. So what products got those attention? What products got the clicks? What drove that action to my site or drove that action to my product? Because if this worked, if it's maybe a video where I'm doing a quick explainer of how the product works, then it's really good to have that knowledge of, okay, I know that that type of video works. Whereas if we just have a standalone product without context, maybe we haven't encouraged them to tap on the product in the caption. We had no call to action. We had nothing engaging them in the caption. That's why they didn't tap on it, or that's maybe why it didn't get as much traction. So it's always really good to look back at how you did before and what got that interaction that you wanted, and then do more of the same. But localize your posts. So where possible, put your location. So when you're posting on Facebook or posting on Instagram, posting anywhere that offers that localized option, do put your location there, especially for things like smaller shops, smaller stores that you really want to target that local market. Definitely put your location on and put it on the post wherever you possibly can. And then talking about e-commerce campaigns. So these would be more paid opportunities. So a lot of the things that I spoke about in terms of shopping, tagging products, you can do all of those without spending anything. Whereas there is a way to elevate some of your content if you did really want to drive those sales. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the opportunities that you can do in terms of advertising. So when you're in Ads Manager, which is essentially the platform that you use to advertise on Facebook and on Instagram, you have the option to select the option for sales. So anytime that you create a campaign, you're always prompted to select an objective. So here you can select the sales option. And this then allows you to optimize your campaign. So to tell Facebook and Instagram, this is what I want out of the campaign. So instead of boosting the post where you'll get your like, where you'll get your comment, but you mightn't necessarily get a sale, you mightn't even get traffic to your website, this is your opportunity to tell the platform, I want sales from this. So you can do what's called carousels. So you might have seen these in organic posts when you post on Instagram or you post on Facebook. When you post multiple images together, they're called a carousel or an album of images or products. So these types of ads work really, really well for e-commerce because, again, people aren't linear. They might want to see more than one product. They might want to see a range. They might want to see some gift ideas in a nice collage. All of that attracts people. And that's the thing, when you have people swiping then along on a carousel, that's the retention. And then on the actual images themselves, you might have overlays that say shop now, get offer, learn more. That's the call to action. So you're attracting, you're retaining, and then you're encouraging that action. You also have what's called dynamic product ads. So these sound a bit tricky, but they're really not that complicated. But let me set the scene. So imagine that you have gone onto one of your favorite websites and you maybe have looked at a few pairs of shoes. Then you leave that website, so you haven't purchased, and then you open up Instagram and there's a couple of pairs of shoes looking at you that you have seen on that website, and they're kind of following you around on social media until you kind of go, okay, I need to buy these. So that's what dynamic ads are. They basically target people based off of what products they have already viewed. So you can scale these, you can set these up, and you can keep them always on. They also work across devices, and they're dynamically relevant, which means they're always going to be relevant to what you have seen on a website. So you can set this up so that if I have viewed a product on your website, whether it's on my phone or on my computer, you can then show me those products again until I buy them. And they're really, really good for sales, really, really good for conversions, because you know the intent is there. People have viewed it, people have added them to maybe to their cart, but they just haven't purchased them. So these types of ads can also be used for prospecting. So they can also be used to find and attract new customers as well. So they're going to be relevant to people who have already viewed them on the website, but they're also going to find audiences that they feel will potentially be in market for these items as well. So you can have two different types of campaigns running. So even if you don't have a high volume of customers that are maybe viewing your products, you can always attract new ones with these types of ads as well. It tends to show things like best sellers as well, and fast selling, top selling, new arrivals, all of the really good stuff that people want to see online. So those are some really good e-commerce opportunities for you for sales if you did want to get started using the Ads Manager platform and using the sales objective versus pressing the boost post button on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to finish up with a couple of case studies. So we do encourage you to have a look at these case studies and maybe get some inspiration from them as well. So if you are looking for a little bit of inspo for your Instagram, for your content, maybe for some ads, then these will hopefully help you. So Kilkenny Shop is an example of both online and in-store promotion. They have a shop set up so you can view their shop on both of their Instagram and Facebook platforms. But it's good to see the difference and the different calls to action when something is focused on in-store and something is focused on online, because it is possible to really promote both, but it's good to see how the call to action can differ and how when they're tagging products, what do they maybe say to encourage people to tap through. So it's good to have that nice blend of inspiring people, but also encouraging that action. Marshalls, I did mention them earlier. I know that these are a big retailer, and I know that when you have a smaller business, it's really hard to compare because obviously people have bigger budgets, they might have more resources, but it's always good to look at these types of businesses and types of platforms for some content inspiration too. So maybe from that little store walk around where it's saying, it starts off with that attraction of come shopping with us, gift ideas with us, and adding things to your cart. And then you're kind of following them around. So you're really attracted in. And sometimes those simple videos work really well because people always want to be inspired. So that's a good one to look at for those types of videos, especially around this time of year. Then if you want to look at this Facebook page, it's a really local menswear. So they specialize in menswear and suits, but they do a lot of in-store videos, just talking to camera, and they're not always focused on high quality production. So sometimes it is that kind of nice, relatable, nothing highly overly produced, just really raw and real content of the store owners, of the staff, talking to people about the products and really engaging their audience. So have a look at that because it really pushes that local aspect. And then some final tips. So don't focus on selling 100% of the time, because if you think about it, even if you feature products in a video that you're just talking about something, maybe you're talking about something local, maybe you're introducing a member of staff and you have products around you, that's still technically selling without selling. You don't have to say, these are now available, this is now available, buy here, buy now. So you can still have that engagement there without having to sell all the time, but you can follow that 80-20 rule and nurture those social followers, because if you have that attraction at the start, then you have your engagement and retention. Then people might buy from you, but keep nurturing those audiences, keep building that relationship with them, because that leads to loyalty. And then your loyal customers become your cheerleaders, and they might bring people into the top of funnel for you and attract new customers all the time. But be approachable. So be available if people ask you questions, if people want to know more about your store opening times, about what you offer, and that approachability comes with consistency as well. So if you are creating this really nice content around your content pillars, you're being available to answer anyone's questions. So that consistency will make people think, oh, they're open, they're available, I can ask them questions, they're approachable, and that then leads to more sales. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. I will keep an eye on the chat box here. But in the meantime, there is a handout that comes with this session as well. And we really do encourage you to go to the handout, to really study the handout. And there's a little template there as well for you to identify some of your audiences. So with your normal customers that might come in day to day, there's also those digital customers that you can find. So if you have people that you can identify as here are my ideal customers and here's what they look like from a personality point of view, from their needs and their wants. So we do encourage you to fill that out, and you have that opportunity then to book a one-to-one session with our team to walk through that handout with you. So I don't see any other questions here, so I will leave it there. The next session is on the 12th of December at 10:30 a.m. So we'll be talking all about collabs, influencers, and pop-ups as well. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't see any other questions. So thank you all for joining, and we will chat to you very, very soon.